like, what the hell's going on? We have no idea. And then I'm just setting up lights. Yeah, I have like multiple lights showing up. I got different plugs. A lot of it is just technology is just one big fucking monkey's paw is what it is. It's just one huge monkey's paw. They give you something, then they take something away because fuck you, that's why. So, yeah.
You have so many skills. And
Yeah, I know.
you have so many skills. You're such a jack of all trades, and you're like the ethnic Egon.
Yes. Let's try this.
With much better social skills, but
well, yeah. I have been accused of having the Asperger's.
really,
boss actually, yeah. The boss asked me if I was special needs or if I had autism or ADD, and I told him his Asperger's is showing. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's not your ordinary boss.
No. He's just an asshole. That's all. He knows it. And anybody that says I'm not the bad guy and tells you it's not personal, oh, it's personal. I couldn't give a shit. What are you gonna do? Fire me now? Have to. You've already cut my hours 20 hours a week, so fuck you, dude. It's simple as that. Fuck you.
You're at 20 hours a week now. You're working.
I got the message Tuesday to cut my hours to 20 hours a week. The week before, I was told, "Hey Al, you could get a lease instead of having to fix your car." Yeah, with what job security? You got to have job security to have a lease. What the fuck? Just hold on, Lee.
Yeah, give us a quick tour of this. That's all right. I like seeing the habitat. I want to see where the magic happens there.
Oh, this is my desk. I have a desk. This is the MacBook that I found in the trash that I pretty much bought a screen on eBay, repaired it, bought a new hard drive, upgraded it. And then later on with when I was balling, I bought a new motherboard. So now it's better than a computer from 2016. So go me.
Well, I guess this is a good enough time as any to say to the people who will be watching this man not only is a huge part of our podcast, but boy, there's so much to talk about. I mean, this could be a 2-hour podcast, except for the fact that I actually have to go do things today. But,
we all do.
Yeah, and Al has to do things too. I forgot. So
it's okay. I forget
This guy is like, he's the social media manager for our podcast. We were supposed to have another guest who, between the sort of hilarious. Oh,
he's a match. Rich is a match.
Well,
he's a pretty good dude. Yeah.
Between the guest who completely was dying to be on the podcast, and then just, I guess he's stoned all the time, and anyway, this happened a lot more in season 1, by the way, where I have 2 guests, and then one of them would just not show up, or we wouldn't hear back.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad you're here to record this podcast.
I am too.
Because
I am too. This is good.
Because there was and I just don't like things to be difficult, and it was so.
Nobody does.
The only one who's easy to deal with, the only sane, easy to deal with person who's in constant communication and really professional is the guy who's on with me now. And what I find out through this podcast is that he is one of the most sane, decent, incredibly well functioning, he's the Swiss Army knife of comedy in LA.
Thank you.
Everything he does, he elevates the project. He cares about other people's shit. Kind of that's very uncommon in show business. And
oh yeah, well, with enough assholes, you're going to stop caring. It's I understand now why.
Really talented,
continue.
Right guy, a great friend, just to anyone who's good friends with this guy, and and funny as hell and very inspired by Mitch Hedberg, which I found out recently. And just my pal, one of my partners in crime, No Idea Zone. Welcome, one of the men behind the curtain here, Al Bahmani.
Hey, thank you for the kind words, Steve. I hope my audio is pretty good. Thank you. Welcome. It's first time listener, long time subscriber. It's great. Fuck this pandemic. I've realized, like, I've been watching a lot of old school horror anthologies, Creep Show, Tales from the Dark Side. And those anthologies, you always have some real bastard that gets theirs. And always growing up believing that, oh, those bastards are exaggerated. Nobody can be that self-centered or that big of an asshole. And living in LA for 6 years, oh, they exist. They just toned them down for the anthologies.
It's like the most self-centered, narcissistic people like gravitate toward here like it's a convention of what's that convention, AFI? It's like an AFI convention of the most delusional narcissistic, and guess what? We could be counted among those, Al, you and I.
Oh, well, yeah, because we believe that we're good enough for a couple of chuckles for 15 minutes at a time.
We did relocate. We're in that.
We relocated to tell dick jokes. That's what we did. We relocated to tell dick jokes. These dick jokes must be heard. Let me find where the biggest stage is. Let's go there. What can we do to keep ourselves from settling down and becoming the person that comedy becomes a hobby? And yeah, this is what we do.
You were just too good for the narcissists and the self-centered people in Houston, Texas. You were like, I need a higher class. I need to be in a bigger league of dirtbags.
Well, yeah, the only difference between LA and Houston is that you get stabbed in Houston for a wing night, 35-cent wing night in a $20 spot. LA, it's an actual sitcom that may or may not be canceled within 2 episodes. Might even not even make it to pilot. There's more money, there's a bigger stream, there's more shit happening because there's a lot of people working off of spite, insecurity, and ego. A lot of buildings that shouldn't be standing are standing, and they're open because of ego.
You know what? About 10 years ago, I did this show. There was this comic whose name I won't mention, former friend, who we did a show in DC, in Washington, D.C. at the Cinema Draft House, which is like in Arlington.
Yeah.
And I hooked up with this girl, really cute girl, and we all were hanging out after the show. It was a great time.
Yeah.
It was what your 25, 30-year-old dream is as a comedian, is you go on the road, hot chick, you're all hanging out after and having fun. And anyway, so the girl, I had a great time with the girl. She was a rich girl too. Fucking just stay in DC and decided to, she had a big fucking condo and a high rise. And anyway, I'm making the story longer than it needs to be. But so she calls me like 3 weeks after I'm back in LA, and she goes, hey, Steve, listen, I think you should know this. I'm getting ready to hear, like, you gave me herpes or something, And she goes, no. I go, is everything okay? She goes, yeah, I just want you to know that comedian, she says the guy's name, comedian who was on the show with you, he called me and he said that you said blah, 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 blah. Like he decided to fabricate that I had made up a bunch of, like, I was telling all the details about her and her friend.
Right.
We had an orgy and he told her all this stuff that I said. Anyway, she was calling me to know, she wasn't suspicious of me. She was calling me to notify me my friend, who I thought was my friend.
Right.
This is how he really feels about me.
Yeah, cock block it.
So that's LA. That's you know, where you get stabbed at wing night in Houston. You know what I mean? You get stabbed.
Oh yeah.
Wing night in Houston. Here getting stabbed is in the back, and you don't find out till later secondhand. That's how LA is.
I think anything that has any job that has the appearance of quick cash or prestige or some sort of way of filling the hole in your heart is going to pretty much just, you know, attract the sociopaths like moths. The stage lights attracts the talent because there are some really fucking amazing, talented, good-hearted people that exist. They're few and far between, but when you find them, you know them. And then you got some folks that are just total wackadoos. You know, if all of a sudden working at McDonald's was a path to fame, you'd have motherfuckers standing outside the local McDonald's like it's fucking potluck at the store. So, you know, I mean, they call DC pretty much Hollywood for ugly people. So, you know, real estate, you got sociopaths in real estate, you got psychopaths.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I guess my point was that you might not know if you are somewhat, and I'm not saying I'm a perfect person or anything, but you may not know that you are friends with somebody who is one of those people. And I guess
piece of shit. You just find out when it's too late because people show themselves.
That girl saved me. I would have been walking around for how long? Who knows how many more years hanging out with that guy. He was.
It's like the Bronx Tale. It's better you got off quick, you know.
Yeah, she
$20.
You saved me big time. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, man.
Anyway, that was a long time ago. But anyway, leading me into my my appreciation of you, which is somebody who is genuinely a helper. You're a helper, man. You help out everybody. You elevate everything you're on. And so this is kind of like I've been watching these videos with David Letterman, old clips of Letterman, and he brings out Chris Elliott, which we were too young. I mean, I don't remember any of that. Apparently Elliott was a writer on the show, and Dave loved him. So Dave would have him come out and do shit. And I feel like you're the Chris Elliott of this. Like we have to have you come front and center we have to pull back the veil and show one of the guys behind the curtain who helps this thing go.
Thank you. This is the curtain right over there.
I see that. Is that a shower curtain, by the way?
No, that's something my old man brought from Iran, from the old country. I remember when he gave it to me. He'd been in Iran for 3 months. I hugged him and I said, Duster Duram, which is I love you in Farsi. And his first words to me were, son, your shoes are on the carpet. So, and then he gave me this. And
this looks like what Indiana Jones would look at to try to decipher where the Ark of the Covenant was buried.
Yeah, see, there's the king, there's the winged angels, then there's like
it's pretty cool.
The lion's body and the wings and shit, you know.
Do you have a light behind you? What's the magic of that?
Oh, no, that's the window. So
okay.
That's the window of my apartment coming in, adding ambiance. I took today off because they cut my hours, so fuck it.
Hey, their losses are benefit.
Oh yeah, their loss, our benefit. You know, you can catch my next appearance at the unemployment office.
You're one of the few people who have not collected unemployment.
Yeah, I've gone through my entire life without collecting unemployment. I'm too busy actually working. I've done everything from doing construction work, which is me standing outside being yelled at and called not a man, to babysitting, to pet sitting, it's just randomness. And this ain't my first time in LA without a car. So I still got my car. It's just, you know, ain't my first rodeo. I can do this.
How many construction jobs have you had, Al?
Quite a few. They just over the pandy and before the pandy.
Like, I just picture this fat Mexican guy, like, we want to get the guy who isn't a man and just ridicule him all day, man.
That's pretty much it. Just being yelled at in the hot sun. Like, how come you don't know the difference between this hammer and that hammer? Well, how come you don't know the difference about discovering paperwork? It's just, I worked at a law office for 7 years. The law office is hiring me. So, I don't want to work for divorces anymore. That shit is just, yeah. So,
Well,
I do like to see what you got the lights set up. You can actually see you on this episode. But the camera set too. It's pretty good.
me?
But
Or you? You mean me or you?
You.
Oh,
You.
I always have this set
Yeah.
up. This is my setup.
Okay.
What happens is, this might be the first time you're actually seeing it like this. This is fun. So this is what it looks like, but then Graham, he does his magic where he cuts out. So we might not see your curtain and your stuff because he'll cut it so that it's just our, it's not as large of a frame. He does something.
Okay.
So this
Very
is always
cool.
what. So no, the audience won't see my unmade bed,
Oh.
Although I really believe in my heart, Al Bahmani.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe in my heart that this is why people tune into podcasts. Because to me, the podcast is the most boring. I can't watch more than a 7-minute clip of Joe Rogan. And it's not because I don't have a long attention span. I just don't find pleasure entertainment generally in sitting down and listening to a couple fucking people talk for an hour. And I think that this is my theory, Al. I believe that for decades, the population have been so deprived of authenticity and entertainment that
Right.
they just want to sit and watch anything real, even if it's fucking boring. People talking about shit with their bed unmade and their fucking
Right.
curtain in the background.
Parasocial relationship, folks. Parasocial relationships is what they call it. Where we just, like, most people are voyeurs. They want to watch the action going on and not participate or be bystanders. Everybody wants to be a bystander.
We're like, you know what we are, Al? We're like extremely, extremely, extremely softcore pornography. Basically.
I feel sorry for the people coming to this.
Hey, here's the good
Really
news.
sorry.
There's not many of them.
Well, yeah, well, how many people were at the Last Supper?
More
these
watch this podcast.
Okay, well, good. You can still you'll see an increase in numbers and the increase in unemployment by 1.
That fucking, what is that? The inhaler?
Inhaler, albuterol.
That will increase that authenticity, ladies and gentlemen. That is the kind of authenticity that makes that will bring numbers in. Just seeing this guy show you that he's a real human being. He's not
Brought to you by Medi-Cal.
He's not a polished rich kid.
No, I'm polished, but no, I'm 100 air right now. We'll see how long I stay 100 air. I'm balling, man. Like, my idea of rich is having Amazon Prime. So
tell us if you have a lot of stuff going on. You're doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Share that with us, really.
Okay. I've continued, like, I used to co-run an open mic with Eric Marino at the Comedy Store all the way up in 2018. And then the dojo opened, brought it to the dojo after our last date. And then, pandemic came, the dojo closed, and I brought it on Zoom. And now it's 6 mics a week from Sunday to Friday. I run 6 mics a week from Sunday to Friday. I got a coalition of comics from all over the states that do the hosting for me. So actually fill in, they host. Storytelling on Monday. I have Carrie and Joe running it on Tuesday.
You met through me, right?
Yeah, I met Carrie and Joe through y'all. Yes, so they run that. In fact, they're doing a show tonight on Thursday because, the original show got bumped by real shows, so that's the tradition. Friday, Danny Archia runs a mic. Then Wednesday, got Alex Kennedy running a mic from New York. And then I run the Sunday mic from 11 a.m. to whenever it's over, just to kind of, stay in practice. One of my best friends up in New York actually caught the COVID and lost his voice. So
can audience, for the audience out there, can audience tune into these? You say they're mics. So when people say a mic, that's usually constitutes as just comedians kind of talking to each other.
Oh yeah, it's a place to get bad, to be bad, so you can get good.
But if an audience, if a person on here wanted to tune in, could they?
Yeah, sure. They can go to Show Up Go Up LA, which will be over there. Show Up Go Up LA on Instagram, and in the bio there's a form where you can actually sign up and you can write down, "Hey, I just want to watch." And we got a storytelling show on Saturday. So yay. Whenever this comes out, I don't know how many got shotgunned in, but the mics pretty much are continuing until, I can't play Zoom anymore, $15 a month. So,
it's got the professional Zoom.
Yeah. Why should I kick people out after 30 minutes? We've had mics run. We've had some pretty lively things, like folks from all over the world, Europe, Israel, Dubai, actually Scotland, England, Ireland, actually just show up and just do time. I mean, just get in mic time.
You also have some professional, real shows that aren't mics, right? That you produce occasionally.
Yeah, I have the hosts produce the mics. Run quite a few. I've actually been able to pay comics over $400. Sure, it's maybe $5 at a time, but over $400 last year since the pandemic. Actually was able to, of course it's split up. The most comics ever got was like 25 per comic. And that was a pretty good show. The idea is that I want everybody to get paid equally and, create the scene you want to see. Mine just doesn't involve possibly catching diseases. I have a mom that's a hypochondriac and an anti-vaxxer. So that's what I'm going through.
The only debilitating thing may be the mental anguish you come away with after watching this showcase of insanity.
Oh, it's all insanity. It is pure insanity.
How was Mark Till? When you had I noticed you had a storytelling thing with Mark.
Oh yeah.
How was he? What story did he tell, or was he all over the place?
About his first McRib.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it great?
He had a McRib, but then he visited a friend of his in prison, and it was bittersweet. Like apparently, it sounds like the dad was like a version of Red Foreman, like very hyper strict, that pretty much turned his son in, and the son was Mark's friend, and Mark's friend was in prison. And it's pretty much the moral I got from Mark's story is get the hell out of your small town. Get the hell out of your small town.
He had a really rough. He had the absolute opposite upbringing of a rich millennial or any kind of millennial. Gentle, safe, gentle upbringing. He had the absolute opposite of that.
The Rust Belt don't fuck around. Rust Belt do not fuck around.
Buffalo, is that the Rust Belt?
Yeah, that's Rust Belt. Yeah, anywhere where there used to be plants, where there used to be industries, until it all trickled down and we moved all the plants to Mexico or China. Right. That sort of fun stuff. Fun stuff that Michael Moore told us about in the 80s. Yay.
Yeah, we were being warned about that by the commies. Everybody wanted to label them.
Oh, yeah.
The commies were warning us about the stuff that the right-wingers are upset about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, but they're the ones that caused it. It's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
and then
you just have to laugh and try to laugh and remember that you just have that front row ticket to the freak show. That's all you can
do. It's wonderful. Best show on earth. Best show on earth. I didn't even buy a ticket. Here we are.
So What else are you working on? Are you writing? What's going on?
Yeah, I actually am writing a story about a Vietnamese family going through the divorce. I'm calling it win-win. No, no, I always have multiple projects. I have my own blog, albegood.com, that I continually run sporadically, where I put all my thoughts in, and then maybe 2 or 3 people read it, just like this podcast. And then I've also worked on a couple of different short films at the same time with the folks from Try Harder Sometimes. Even helped on a couple other podcasts too. So it's just,
That's right.
I'm like,
You work on other podcasts. Tell us a little bit about that. That's a good segue.
Did my friend Nia DeBose's podcast? She interviewed one of the folks that are in the front lines of the bus that are busing people during the pandemic, and she also interviewed what's his name, William Nadelceder, who wrote the book "I'm Dying Up Here." And we had the full scoop as far as what was going on in that 70s scene in comedy. And it's like, it's so weird how much has changed within 40 years. Just within 40 years, as far as just the relativity. Because I talked to a coworker that was millennial a while back and talking about how college was, considered to be just not a privilege because it was cheaper. They raised the college prices up by 50% right around the G.W. Bush era. So around that time, they were kids and they don't know any better. It's just learning where the context is. And, it's, I've Debo's the podcast, helping Sean Humphreys with the Luck Club podcast. And then I'm No Idea Zone. I even set up a podcast room where they asked me if I was willing to help on the podcast for free. The answer is no. I have my limit. I have to at least like the person. I have to really like the person, and I have to really, really like the podcast. And then I had somebody that's asking me right now to put my open mics on a network. I don't want to do that right now. I got enough. There's just so much tech, so many machines I got to work with, and then human beings. So I even help out. Oh, John Shefsky's podcast, Fantasy House, which is very fun, where people give their tours of their favorite fantasy house, where it's like imagination's the limit. So you can have a room that's nothing but pimples to pop, or Sam Tripoli has like a Roman style arena theater where people fight out to death dressed as comic book characters. I mean, it's just, yeah, like I said, I support things that I believe in, that have heart, that have soul, that have just basically good people, because there's just too many bastards out there on the screens. Too many bastards. Like, yeah, sure, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but, after a while, we're kind of going to get tired of fucking Breaking Bad. We're kind of going to get tired of the asshole with the heart of gold. They don't. If you look any closer to the stories about the assholes with the heart of gold, you'll find out it's fake gold.
They're just assholes.
They're just assholes. It's fake gold. They're trying to make themselves look good, when really, just go balls out. If you're an asshole, just go balls out and just admit it. Don't even try to make yourself look good.
Yeah, just be Rick James. I get it.
Yeah, be Rick James. Be Michael Scott.
Before the pandemic, you were doing a lot of stuff. You were helping out a lot of people in person, and I noticed that you were sort of regularly down there in the cellar, the dweller cellar.
Comedy Store.
Yes.
Argus Hamilton's Comedy Store tonight. Another plug, yes, with Lord Argus Hamilton, one of the OGs of the Comedy Store. The man, I think he was born in a seersucker suit, quite honestly. He is like a Southern gentleman. But it's like I got like post 2000, post rehab Argus, not 1970s Iggy Pop Argus Hamilton.
We don't know what that guy was like.
Oh, I have no idea. It's like It's like somebody's grandfather, but the grandfather used to be Rick James or something. That's and that's saying it lightly.
So how's your dating life during
What dating life?
I just had to.
What dating life?
You're vaccinated, right?
One part Moderna. I got a couple more weeks of Moderna. I am Schrodinger's player. Either I have all the hoochies or none at all.
Got it.
There's no in between. It's either like I remember one time. Oh God, coming back. This was a gig, and I came back. I produced a show in Houston. I made out with an ex, then I made out with another girl, and then I arrived back in California, and then hooked up with a girl. I was like, try, succeed. You know.
What year was this?
2018.
Oh, that was just a couple years back.
That was a couple years ago. It was pretty cool. And then like a couple months ago, and then I hooked up the other two later on. So it all balances out. I'm never going to cry about not getting any. It comes, it goes.
Yeah.
Much like the erections. They come and go. We're at the age where you can either jerk off or have sex. So,
to tell dick jokes. That's
what they want. That's what people's idea of a night out is, pretty much just a bunch of dick jokes. Their idea of a night out is just a bunch of dick jokes. They don't care about originality. They just want a night to forget that they have the babies, that they put a babysitter there or something, is what it is.
There is a high art of dick jokes.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, there is a high art of dick jokes. When you're referring to dick jokes, you're referring to cheap hack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, as opposed to, highbrow dick jokes. Like my dick is so big that it quoted the Psalms to me. Envy not your oppressors, choose none of their ways. Yes, the high art dick jokes. Yes.
Cool.
Yes, this is a William F. Buckley reference in this testicle bit.
Can you give us some of your favorite, dick joke telling comics?
Oh, God. See.
Guilty.
I'd say the king of the dick jokes would be Craig Shoemaker with the Love Master. It's just nothing but the best dick jokes. Danny Rios in Houston, Texas. But it's more than just dick jokes. His comedy, he basically sticks his dick in your ear, and then it just goes wild with it. I mean, it doesn't literally stick it.
Got a shout out on the No Idea Zone. I have no idea who Danny Rios is, but you have been made famous to 35 regular people.
One of the funniest motherfuckers in Houston, Texas, Danny fucking Rios. My favorite joke of Danny. It's more creepy than anything because he looks like Booger from Revenge of the Nerds and Napoleon Dynamite had a kid. His lines, not mine. When he talks about, you try to be a good guy. You would try to be like Jimmy Stewart, and you meet a girl that, is into a dude, and then she introduces you to the dude, and you can't stand there and feel like you're not Jimmy Stewart. You're not the good guy because it's awkward. You say hi, she says hi, and then you keep stabbing and repeating the neck going, it's all for you, baby. It's all for you. Because anybody can give flowers.
Al, while you're telling this, while you're reenacting this comment, are you wielding a toothpick in your hand? Is that?
Yes, I am wielding a toothpick. Got to do the prop
Exactly.
You got to at least have
that. That was an unconscious desire to act out Danny Rios's.
Oh, like comics would stand on the sidelines and quote his jokes with him. You ain't lived till you seen another group of comics go, amuse me, flesh puppet. This one displeases me. Send it away. And then everybody just in unison go, bring forth fresh snatch. Oh, that Houston scene and the Laugh Stop was kind of like the store, but like a mini version of the store.
When did the Laugh Stop close? Laugh Stop
2009.
Now, did it go through? Because I was just watching a thing about Kinnison where he went back to the Laugh Stop because it was closing. So did it close and open up a couple times? Did it?
Well, Kinnison started at the Comedy Workshop, the Workshop Annex, because the Workshop was like a improv club, and then the Annex was where the stand-up was, where Hicks, Kinnison, Ron White, Brett Butler started, is what it is. Ron Schock, like all the Texas Outlaws started in the Annex, which is, it's kind of like the broom closet of UCB is what it was. And then the Laugh Stop, which is a chain out of Long Beach, set up shop in Texas.
Okay, so the Laugh Stop came around much later.
Much later, like the 80s, the Laugh Stop came in. 79 was when the Workshop Annex came in. That's where you had Carl Lepove and Kinnison and Dan Barden and stuff like that, all the Texas guys that started.
Okay, so but there are a lot of, not just famous, but there are a lot of, I think what you're illustrating, a lot of great, really funny,
amazing
Houston.
Oh yeah,
Corey Mosley, who's introduced me to Cat Williams. She's from Houston, and Derek Ellis. I don't know if you've ever heard or seen Derek Ellis. He's from Houston, and he is one of the funniest human beings ever that I've ever. Black comedians, but they
no, you get some heavy hitters out of H-Town. So it's just that you gotta leave the town. Eventually you got to leave, and it's scary. You get folks that come in and come back, and they leave. They end up lasting for 3 months, and when they come back from LA, they just suck because they just absorbed all the superficial bullshit in LA, and they were also just kind of handed, the world on a platter, because at one point comics were being pampered back home when they were building a scene. And then when you go to a scene that you're no longer pampered and you're back in the line with everybody else, it's tough, and it's not for everyone. And
where are people pampered? In Houston, you get pampered a little?
They were at one point. They were at one point in the early 2000s, back when you had Hedberg showing up, Stanhope showing up, Tom Rhodes.
That was Hedberg's favorite club.
That's where they recorded the album, Strategic Grill Locations.
Strategic Grill Locations, live from the
Houston,
Mitch, he gave me a copy of it and signed it. He goes, "Yeah, it's all right, man." I go, "I'll buy one." He goes, "You don't have to buy one. Here you go."
Well, Mitch was always cool, very soft-spoken dude. Yeah. He had what's cool about the album is he had Chuck Savage in the back playing the bass. Boom,
exactly.
Boom,
right.
boom, boom. Yeah. So, it's just, but you had that, like, you had Emo Phillips just show up out of nowhere. And Joey, like, I assume Joey Diaz was a Houston comic because how many times I saw him back in Houston.
Really?
Going, you don't call a girl a cunt, Al. Yeah, I actually called my ex-girlfriend a cunt on the phone. And that's apparently the nuclear option. If you never want an ex to ever talk to you again, just say, don't be a cunt. And nuclear option. I learned that from Joey Diaz a couple seconds too late. Yeah, you don't call him a cunt. It's a harsh word.
There's a few things you can do if you really want a woman not to talk to you again. Yeah. That's definitely one of them.
It's a magic word.
Yeah, the magic word.
Really is.
The magic repellent. Hey, so when I was starting out, I had done stand-up 5 years, and then I was on the road, and I opened for Mitch one week.
Okay.
And all that. I found that road, of course, I was also, in my 22, 23, but I found the road thing to be kind of not creatively. I think LA was, when I moved to LA, I did have a creative explosion, but I was actually I was actually getting on and trying to do comedy. I don't know what those comics were doing, but it was the opposite effect for me, where when I came to LA, I was finally around kind of people who read and they know some things, there's a more diverse group of people and a lot of different kind of people. And I found like the road comedy in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s to be, I had to stick with very, very basic stuff. I was afraid to go anywhere outside of sex jokes. And again, I was like an adolescent, but I don't know wouldn't say I was pampered, but I definitely was afraid to be more personal or say anything could be kind of unique or express anything to.
Right. And
And
half the time on the road, they don't even know that a comedy show is going on.
well, you know, I think that the season comics and headliners who go on the road love it because they're already polished and they know their voice and stuff. But when you're a young learning comic and you're trying to figure it out, man, I mean, that LA was, first of all, in LA, you know, you're doing 7 minutes.
7 where?
Well, 7 or 10 or, you know,
Okay.
this is 20, this is 18.
Okay, because on average, when I arrived here, the average set was 3 minutes.
Well, that's because when you arrived here, there were
Yeah.
fucking 30 million more comedians.
Of course, yes.
So yeah, I mean, a booked set, 7, 10, 12 minutes. And when you're on the road and fucking, you know, you're doing 30, 25, 30 minutes, you know, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I found LA to be easier and more, you know, in that way. And
Right.
so I don't know. But what I'm curious of what you're describing is there's like a scene where people are showcasing in Houston.
Yes. Yes. There are multiple scenes where you showcase in Houston where comics have their own rooms where they have, like I ran a place, like what happened was how I started running rooms was comic Eric Dickman, not a stage name, just his actual name. This dude did a Senior Wences thing, but he had like a tube and he made it smoke as his closer. And it lip synced with Pearl Bailey singing about herding cattle and stuff. And he suffered a stroke, and the open mic happened to be across the street from where I lived. And I just kind of kept it going and then put it to death. Just people were handing me mics to just kill, just to die. And then I got handed this one room, and I helped a friend keep it going where you had an open middle headliner, the 3-act structure, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour. So you have bars and stuff like that with stages where you can actually just develop those shows as opposed to the regular, showcase model that's here in Los Angeles or New York or wherever else you're at, where it's like maybe 7 minutes each or 10 minutes each, you know, where you're able to work on longer sets. It's just anybody can create any sort of infrastructure. There's no rules to any of this. That was I think that was the hardest lesson for me to learn, was that there are no rules to any of this. It's just that we have structure and people just assume the structure is real. It's you had a whole bunch of comics back home talking about, you're not a real comic unless you're paying all your bills with comedy. Yeah, right. You're like a virgin talking about how porn works. You know, it's like, it's like, really, you're trying to coordinate a gangbang, virgin. It ain't happening. There are no rules to any of this except that if you're the host, do your part, bring people up, and get the fuck off stage. Nobody wants to hear anything else in between. You know, any crowd work, do it in your act, move it forward. Saw too many shows where the people would start it and the headliner who also happened to be the host would do 5 to 10 minutes between comics, and you'd pray to fucking sweet death.
Oh, man.
That he'd suffer a stroke and get struck by lightning.
Unbelievable, man. One of those shows are, and we went through that with Mixed Nuts.
Yeah.
Fridays on weekends, one night a week usually, maybe sometimes 2 nights a week. Speedy would host, and whenever he was there, it was just miserable because he just decided it was his show. And
yeah, you pray for death.
He would do 10, 15 minutes, and you'd be off stage, and he'd point to you. He'd point to you, and he'd go, "Okay, keep the show rolling." And then he'd go back into his material for 5 minutes. I did a show with him a couple of years ago. He was the same owner of the club, same owner of the fucking club, hired him again to do another, and he did the same shit. He did the same fucking shit. And when he finally brought me up, I said, that's Speedy. Somewhere there's a comic in Detroit named Slow Motion who just brings people fucking up. You know, somewhere there's some bizarro version of him who's just like actually does keep the show moving.
Oh, that's me. That's me. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just shows like you see so many shows that are just so bad that you swear that, you know, you got two different people. You got some folks that are, this will never happen to anybody else. And others like, I can't wait to be that bastard. And that's like 70 people and 70% of folks in LA that just can't wait to be that bastard. I've seen meetings with folks that talk about, yeah, my boss was a piece of shit. I can't wait to be a piece of shit like him. Like, yeah, it's like you got too many kids that want to be abusers.
They're living the dream. Everybody has different dreams. You know, some people know their dreams are limited and they've got to take it out on others. You know, that becomes the dream for them.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I do notice this, Al.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in rooms that it was the most horrible situation. It was just the room was fucking horrible. The audience was not there, or they were bad or whatever. And I've seen hosts who cared, who cared about the show, who really cared, who really liked the comics on the show, who really wanted, like Ramona or Bobby Lar.
Oh yeah.
Who really wanted the show to be good.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about them. It was about making the show good. And I've seen in terrible rooms. The show ended up being amazing, and the set being amazing, just because. And the host doesn't even have to be that funny necessarily. Just that they care, that they feel the audience feels like the host wants them to have a good time.
Oh yeah, even if it's just comics, you keep that energy going. You just kind of push it, and you just keep it moving. The dojo. How many shows at the dojo we've been a part of that it's just maybe 2 or 3 audience that straggled in, and then just comics just watching each other and having a laugh. I mean, what was that one show we did with Pepitone? That was a good one.
I think there were about 12 people.
Yeah.
12 people.
Did
you host that show?
I might have hosted that show, yeah. Trevor had me host so many shows at the dojo.
I had a lot of fun that night, and the reason I had fun was because you were the host.
Yeah.
You cared, and whatever you said to that audience before I came on was like the audience was endeared to me before they even saw me, and that's what a good host does. I've also been in rooms that were beautiful, an immaculate room with a packed crowd, who are dressed up and ready, and they've spent money, and the host comes on and it's like a fucking robot. Like a robot. Forget the guy doing all the time. This guy's just like, hello, I have come to be the host. Please turn off your cell phone and get ready for the first comedian. And
kills it. Just kills the audience. Not in a good way.
Well, what happens is, most of the time what happens is the audience don't get warmed up.
No.
So the first 3 comics even though they don't know this, it's tasked to them whether that audience is going to get warmed up or they're going to all want to be like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Because the host is a coward. I mean, you got a lot of cowards in comedy too. You got the mics where the host just doesn't do time up front and just, all right, to the wolves, and just throws the comics. First comic up, you, to the wolves, no warm up, fuck you. That's why, let me do my 5 minutes between everyone else. That's what, to the wolves.
And then after 7 comics, they go do their set.
Of course, yeah, that's what they do, because they're cowards. They're cowards. You always ask somebody to take if they're willing to ask somebody if they're willing to take the bullet spot, you know. Or just you find some way, or what Marino did, which really wasn't taking the bullet, was he'd have a musical act begin the open mic.
That's great. That's great because everyone's loose when they hear music, and if it's joyous and jolly and everyone, it loosens people up. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. And it's a very simple thing. Bringing Glenn Bolton to kick off an open mic, to kick off a show, gets everybody in the mood, gets everyone going, And then even if the host is shit, well, guess what? They're already warmed up. And it's just trying to create the atmosphere for, at least an hour and a half and 2 hours at most, because that's the most amount of time that people can sit still.
Yeah.
Can't even do a 2-hour movie. Fuck that.
Oh man, I mean, there are so many different pitfalls in comedy from a bad, just a guy. I've been on road gigs where there was a comic who was they didn't know what the fuck they were doing and booked an hour and a half of comedy before I got on to close the show, like that kind of shit. And
Oh yeah.
not comics who are that kind of stuff. Then you got the host that's just there like a very white. I consider it a very white thing when the host just is like, it's just what are you even doing here? Why don't you just hand the mic off like we're in the OR?
Yeah.
Just hand it off. We don't need a host.
Well, nobody's really training anybody. That's the thing. It's just most comedy clubs are just basically bars with a stage.
Al, you should open up a comedy club. You should run a comedy club. You would run the best comedy club, dude.
Well, yeah, sure. I already have people. I actually had somebody hit me up asking when the dojo reopens, I'd be willing to help for a good tease. And this is the same dude that would ask to show up at the open mic and then not show up and send me an excuse. I don't want to hear excuses.
You can't take that guy seriously.
No, I can't take him seriously. And he's so.
Trevor's in Austin, Texas now.
Yeah, I know. Like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I felt like, yeah, sure, the dojo's open. Come by tomorrow. Yeah, for a spot.
By the way, what happened to the Sycamore Tavern? Is it reopened? Is it something else?
No, it's boarded up. Hobos sleep there. They kind of store restaurant equipment there is what it looks like. And I guess they're selling the land because why not?
Oh, that's too bad.
They're sitting on a bunch of land. Make that money. But, build another luxury apartment because this town needs luxury apartments everywhere, which eventually will become public housing.
That's more inaffordable housing for people from other places with money, as opposed to affordable housing for people who already live in LA.
Oh, yeah. And we already have so much of that already.
That's Los Angeles for you right there, man.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, this shit's been happening for 10 or 12 years. This isn't like a brand new thing.
No, it ain't new.
For people
almost 20 years, quite honestly.
This has been these problems have been in the fucking cooker. Nobody gives a shit here about anything.
No, of course not. Nobody. Yeah, everything in LA happens for a reason, and that reason is because fuck you. That's why. That's the reason. Everything in LA happens for that reason. LA it's a town without pity, to quote Brian Setzer.
Wow. Well put, Al. Well put. So
there's no.
You've got the Windy City, you've got the Windy City, you've got the Big Apple, and the town without pity.
Yeah, there's no pity. You got to remember, in the Bible, angels were dicks. Sure, the city of angels. What type of angels are we talking about? The angel of death? The angel of disease, the angel of homelessness. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of those angels here. Yeah. The angels of 5150. I mean, it's, a lot of people have, never heard so many people talk about their therapist in this town. Ever have friends? The thing. Or perhaps see if you're not surrounded by assholes. That's another thing.
The first couple of years I moved out here, I couldn't kind of figure out, and I think it's just because I didn't grow up where I grew up and the kind of people I grew up around. There was really no real wealth,
right?
Really no real wealth, and everybody was, not that there weren't some kids whose parents did better than other kids, but it was pretty kind of like Edward Scissorhands-ish.
Oh yeah.
And then coming to LA, it was like how naive that I was, that it took a few years for me to figure out, why are these other guys and gals who come out here, why don't they look like they have as much dirt under their fingernails as I do? I mean, I'm really, really struggling. And
Right, but
people are fucking, they look fine, and they look like, I mean, they're not particularly funnier than me, or I don't understand how they're doing so well. And I don't even mean succeeding, just like they're not down and out.
right.
And it took me a long time to figure out that, a couple years to figure out that a lot of trust fund yuppies from other places whose family,
Yeah.
they're not going to ever have to go without. They're the people who
Oh
end
yeah.
up talking about their therapists.
Right, and they're and it's also a generational thing too. We kind of came in, we're Gen X, the ass into Gen X, and we kind of came about right when the American dream was just, it went from owning a home to solving true crime. Is what happened. It just because that was when the 90s was when when they twisted the knife in the back of middle America, is right around the 90s when things were good. When you were having multiple downsizing of companies, you also, it was still the 80s, but it was nicer and shinier, It was nicer and shinier. And then just it became homogenized around the late 90s with Telecommunications Act, which pretty much everything went to Clear Channel, which fucked up radio, and then everything went to billboards, and then the internet came out, and now it all goes out of the, people get to try to being treated nice, being paid regularly, and now you're considered rich if you live the childhood that we had growing up.
Right. Right.
If you could actually do a family vacation, holy shit, to have that much money for gas, you can't do that anymore. There's just a lot of basic things that we kind of took for granted growing up, which are now considered premiums. And it's, and also those kids also exist in other cities. They're the ones that are gentrifying the other cities. I've always remember watching TV about wanting to move to New York because that's where you can be an artist, because they have all these. In the 80s, you had all these movies where Nick Nolte would be painting and stuff like that, and he had his own studio.
The Martin Scorsese film where he ends up, that's a great film a lot of people don't know about, by the way. The New York Story, where he's the
New York Story is Martin Scorsese. And it's like, wow, we could do that. And then I realized, oh, you got to have money to be an artist. You got to have money. You got to, this guy is... you don't see him doing 5 or 6 other jobs to buy paint and shit,
Right. That's the yeah.
Or After Hours. How do these artists live in these warehouse places in pre-Giuliani New York?
Those are the people who already have money. It's never pointed out because it's so sexy. It's not until you see, watch a Spike Lee movie. It's not until you watch a Spike Lee movie where you see the underbelly of all of that. You would never see that growing up. It was Cocktail and fucking New York Stories and
college movies lying to us, telling us that it'll all be Animal House or PCU or
a Woody Allen movie where everybody's going to restaurants and listening to jazz and complaining about their marriages and you don't he's got some woman working at a grocery store and she's got a 2-bedroom apartment. No, none of that's real. Nobody lives like that.
No one lives like that.
No.
But these are the people that can afford to put paper to pen and and then pay hundreds of dollars for these story contests and then, sit through and win a free internship, And then it just becomes just another refried version of Larry Sanders, which I enjoy, but it just
was really a more of a reflection of show business was The Player with Robert Altman.
Oh, great fucking movie.
And that's what The Artist was. The guy who's a fucking maniac, who the executive thinks is after him, Vincent D'Onofrio. And and he's really a smart guy, but that's really who the artist is. It's some fucking unfulfilled maniac who's
Oh
living
yeah.
in probably like Bukowski. Like you're living like
Mm-hmm.
Bukowski, basically, right? You're
Yeah.
working at the post office full time, and then you drink and write at night, and that's
Oh yeah.
the tiny, minuscule amount of people who have 24 hours in the day they can do it. Because most people go to a job and they're fucking exhausted. They don't have any creative energy
Yeah.
at all for anything.
And no, and how many people you know past 30 that actually read books on their own? You know, just you. And I've one of the cool things about growing up in Houston was as a kid, I used to go, my mom would take me to go meet writers. I would go to book signings, meet writers and stuff like that. And one of the best writers I met was Joe Lansdale, who's written for a lot of TV and stuff like that, has a couple of many books. And his advice is just write every day. And he was working at a job and just doing it. And it's like you are going to get those authentic voices that are there, but it's just that level of fortitude is something that a lot of people don't have. A lot of people don't have that fortitude and that the ability to have that door slammed in your face over and over and over again, and the ability to want to make it better at the same time, and that honest self-reflection, which is something that people also lack. I'm surprised by how many comics that don't even know how to write or even know how to tell a regular story without trying to slip into some shtick, That's the other thing.
Sometimes those are just amateur mistakes that if the person is somewhat intuitive, they'll figure it out. They will figure it out. I mean, I was like that too when I began years. But yeah, the sad thing is to see somebody who's been doing it for 10 or 15 years and they're still doing that,
Oh, it's
and
oh God.
that I've been thinking about, Al, is the sort of paradox between the entertainer feeling like I'm going to impress somebody. I'm going to impress somebody who's going to change my life. And
make me famous.
Well, or not just make me famous, but help me make a living. I think at some point, everybody just kind of wants to make a living. That's why a lot of people end up not in the creative part. They end up in the casting director role or in some other role.
You learn how the sausage is made and you fall in love with the business enough that you're willing to learn to do more than just that. Look at Jay Davis. Jay Davis books now,
Well, he had to because he was never a good comedian. He was a fucking terrible comedian. I mean, horrible. And a horrible host.
Yeah.
He's exactly the host who comes on and goes, "Hi, okay, first, terrible. Oh, no talent at all. Very, very blessed, fortunate human being."
Yes.
Yeah, I have no problem saying that publicly at all.
That's fine.
Yeah. So, but what I mean is the comic, you want to showcase and impress somebody, and they're going to change your life. They're going to tell someone's going to be moved by your whatever you do, and some of that, what that ends up devolving into is that I just want to do whatever works. I just want to do whatever works.
Right, but then that's never going to bring you actual peace or happiness or artistic fulfillment, because then it's, you'll get folks that'll just, they'll start off just doing whatever works and then just take a piece from here, take a piece from here, and then they end up being stuck in where they're just such a hack.
They don't know
such a hack. They won't ever do new material. And they're just going to be doing old material and just taking shit off the internet and just repackage it in a stand-up.
Well, you end up in a place where you don't know who you are. You don't even know who you are anymore. And
no, they don't.
The paradox, I guess I was trying to lead to, is that's what show business does to people. It ends up over time and the pressure of trying to make it and not being successful or seeing other people become successful like quickly, and all of these different sort of confusions,
insecurities
are going on. And then there's the population. Here's where the paradox is. Then there's the population who's just so desperate for the opposite of that. And nobody wants to be entertained by somebody who wants to be cute and entertaining. People want to be entertained by somebody who's going to tell their boss what they can't say.
Yes.
That's what the population has never changed, by the way. I think the population.
No, it hasn't.
We want to watch somebody break the fucking boss's nose. So that's what we want to laugh at.
Oh, we all do. We all want to break the boss's nose. We all want to tell him to go fuck himself. And it's just, I feel it's part of it is you have to have some sort of level of, like, we all have insecurity. To admit it, we all have to be insecure. We're all insecure at some level, but at the same time, we also have to be secure to know that we're not secure, to be secure enough to make mistakes, to be secure enough to actually find something that hits, that actually connects. That's what we want to do. We want to connect, because what people want is connection. They don't want another superhero film again, 10 times refried, or maybe they do. Coming soon, the new Spider-Man film with Stephen Lolli as Dr. Octopus. I don't know. Just seeing it now for Marvel, the 10,000th reboot.
Not that I would ever turn down that job. I want you to know that. Anyone out there listening, okay, as misanthropic as I may sound right now.
Hell, my friend Mo Amir, who I worked with, got a
down. I just taken in the ass to get second in line for that.
No, we're not good. No, sometimes it's not. I keep thinking about the dude from Cherry Pie, Warwick. He didn't want Cherry Pie. He didn't want to record Cherry Pie, but he recorded Cherry Pie. That became the big hit, and he got so fucking tired of singing Cherry Pie that he just shot himself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We want to be famous, but we don't want to be famous for Cherry Pie. We don't want to be, if something's going to hit, ideally, we want something that's going to hit. But I've seen comics that have become famous, like the end of Hedberg's life. Like the day before I got shot, I saw Hedberg do a set, and people were yelling out bits for him to say, and it was hard for him to do bits. Or when I was sound guy at the Improv watching Chappelle work, and people were interrupting his set, yelling out, "I'm Rick James, bitch."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's like you really don't want to be that famous. You want to be hungry enough where you can do what you want, get your voice heard, and then work on that magical island of non-assholes. That's all we want, is a work. And I've seen that magical island of non-assholes, and that is called the set of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Because no matter how neurotic Larry David appears to be on the show, that's an exaggerated version of Larry. The real Larry has to have some level of togetherness, has to have some level of teamwork to herd in all these wild and zany characters together, to sit down, to watch Bob Einstein riff off of Jeff Garlin and Richard Lewis and Ed Begley Jr., Susie Essman in the same table, just having a good time, getting paid, getting other people paid, and punching it up. That's the dream. Everyone's making a living, they're famous, but not too famous, where, Bob Einstein at the end of his life could go get some chicken, Larry David could just go in and get some coffee, and he's like, yeah, it's just.
I don't know about Larry David being able to do that. He's probably a little.
Well, you know how many people look like Larry David we run into on a daily
on the west
basis?
Side of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's where you want to live if you're Larry David. Because on the west side of Los Angeles, yes, but if you live in Houston, probably not. There's not a lot of men.
There are a bunch of dudes that look like Larry David. There are also a bunch of folks that don't watch Curb. So it's not like he's George Costanza.
I don't think he could be at the airport and not get harassed by somebody.
Yeah, thinking he's Bernie Sanders.
I don't think he's Bernie Sanders. Hey, Al, I love it, man. I just love that you came on, and
thank you.
And audience out there, you should know well, why haven't you had this guy on? You know, he's your pal. Why haven't you had him on? Well, I'm going to answer that question you didn't ask that I asked for you to answer, which is Al was asked to come on at the beginning of this podcast.
Yes, I did.
I don't want to fucking, he was like, I don't, you know, so to be fair, this is a long, late, and in the making.
Yeah, I generally prefer I want to get the
Behind the
work
scenes.
done.
You like being behind the scenes.
Yeah, I like doing the work. I like being, I like punching stuff up, getting the work done. And sometimes being in front of the camera, it just takes away from getting the work done. The work is the reward,
Well, we'll always be working together because I hate doing the fucking work. All right. So you tell us, all the 35 old ladies out there who are vax evangelicals, you tell these old people where they can find you on social media so they can follow you. Give us all your social media handles.
At Bahmani on all the socials. I kept it all the same on all the socials at Bahmani. The website, albegood.com, with a bunch of, some short stories, some shameless self-promotion. And you can find me on the YouTube and just type in Bahmani. You'll see me losing on a roast battle really horribly.
Bahmani for us.
So, yeah, I'm around. Almost 20 years in this. So, yeah.
Well, spell your last name for people so they can.
B as in boy, Ahmani, Bahmani. It's not Bahama.
Okay.
But yeah.
And
so, yeah.
I want to, before we sign off, I actually have my first paid outdoor show, I think.
What?
Yeah, in a couple of weeks. Actually, in about 10 days. What is today, the 10th?
Today is, no. It's the 14th.
Today's the 14th.
No, 15th. Sorry, the 15th. April 15th, tax
in 10
day.
days, and on the 25th of April, I will be appearing. You can check it out on all my social media. I will be appearing with my pal Eddie Pepitone. We will be doing in LA at an outdoor amphitheater. I believe it is downtown. I'm not sure
what the
location is yet. There'll be a bunch of other comedians on it. It is I think it's $20 or $10 or something like that. But come, you will have a good time, and you'll get to watch the funniest, according to the New York Times, the funniest comedian of last year, Eddie Pepitone, headlining, and I'm featuring. And yeah, so check that out. April 25th, LA. If you're in LA, come get tickets, and we'll hopefully see you live. And Al, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. It was good. I'll let you know when I run that comedy club. All right.
One thing that I will do if or when I have a boatload of money is I will have Al run a comedy. I will buy a fucking place and have you run it, and it will be the best run place ever.
Thank you. Just keep me thinking about when Trevor told me that, I wanted to tell people that you're the booker for the dojo.
Maybe you can open a dojo, open a dojo in LA when things get going. You never know.
We'll see. All right, dude.
All right.
Laters.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, Al Bahmani, and we'll see you next week on the No Idea Zone.
Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed whatever you saw on our channel today. Make sure to like, comment, and share everything you see here. And please hit that big red subscribe button. You have no idea how much it helps the No Idea Zone every time you hit that button. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next installment of the No Idea Zone.